In 2025, Americans aren't just moving across town, they're escaping their own states. Over 3 million people packed up last year alone, fleeing places they once called home. Why? Because the cost of living is crushing, crime is rising, and even basic systems like healthcare and safety are collapsing. Families are asking, is my state next? Today, we expose the 5 states Americans are running from the fastest, and the reasons why staying could cost you your freedom, your money, and your future. Number 1. California. With the nation's highest state income tax, 13.3% at the top bracket, families feel squeezed from both ends, soaring housing costs and punishing tax bills. Even those who once thrived here are cashing out, selling their homes, and moving to states where their money stretches further. But the exodus isn't just about economics. California's homelessness crisis has reached historic levels. Cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco now have entire districts where tents and makeshift shelters dominate the landscape. Open-air drug use, rising property crime, and overwhelmed police forces mean safety is no longer guaranteed, even in once desirable neighborhoods. Businesses are leaving too. Silicon Valley startups and even established giants are shifting headquarters out of state to avoid regulatory red tape and the crushing costs of doing business. Every departure fuels the spiral, making it harder for California to sustain its promise of opportunity. So the question is, how long before California tips from expensive but manageable to outright unlivable for ordinary Americans? Thousands have already decided that moment has come. 2. New York. New York, the empire is crumbling. Manhattan rents broke records in 2025, with the median crossing $4,300 a month. For families, even small apartments devour entire paychecks. And if you're hoping to buy, prepare to face home prices that lock out all but the wealthiest. But it's not only about housing. New York is home to one of the highest tax burdens in the country, combining state and city income taxes that strip as much as 14% of earnings. Small businesses struggle to survive, and high earners are quietly disappearing, taking billions in tax revenue with them. Crime has fueled the panic. While city officials claim crime rates are stabilizing, the reality on the ground tells a different story. Subway attacks, smash and grabs, and rising violent incidents have residents looking over their shoulders. For many families, daily life now feels like a gamble with safety, and the cultural weight is heavy too. Political battles in New York shape the national conversation, but they leave residents exhausted. Education fights, policing debates, endless regulations, every part of life feels politicized. For many, it's simply too much. The great irony? For decades, New York was the destination for dreamers. In 2025, it has become a departure gate. Tens of thousands are abandoning the Empire State every year, seeking stability elsewhere. The message is clear. If New York doesn't change, it risks hollowing out completely. If you've made it this far, you clearly care about where America is heading. So don't miss the next breakdowns. Hit subscribe right now. I post every week on the states and countries people are escaping to, and you don't want to be the last to know. 3. Illinois. Illinois has become the cautionary tale of the Midwest. Once the proud industrial hub of America, today it's one of the fastest emptying states in the nation. The core reason? Trust in the system has collapsed. Start with Chicago, once known as the city that works. It's now infamous for its crime wave. In 2025, Chicago remains one of the most violent big cities in the United States. Carjackings, armed robberies, and gun violence dominate headlines week after week. Families who've lived there for generations are packing up, convinced the city is no longer safe for their children. But crime is just one layer. Illinois is drowning in financial quicksand. The state faces one of the worst pension crises in the country, unfunded liabilities soaring past $140 billion. That means higher property taxes, higher income taxes, and higher fees for residents who are already stretched thin. Homeowners are trapped. Rising property taxes make staying unbearable, but home values aren't keeping pace, leaving many unable to sell without a loss. Meanwhile, job growth lags far behind neighboring states. Businesses avoid Illinois due to unstable finances and a government seen as addicted to debt. Residents know the reality. When state finances implode, it won't be politicians who pay the price. It will be ordinary taxpayers. The result is visible in hard numbers. Illinois has recorded some of the steepest outbound migration rates year after year, bleeding population at a pace it can't reverse. For many, the choice isn't between staying or leaving, it's survival. Illinois isn't just losing residents, it's losing its future. 4. Texas. For years, Texas was the promised land. No state income tax, booming job growth, and the idea that everything was bigger and better. But in 2025, cracks are showing, and some of the very people who fled here for opportunity are fleeing again. Healthcare is one of the darkest truths. In certain Texas counties, infant mortality rates and access to care rank alongside developing nations. For a state that prides itself on strength, those statistics are shocking. Families moving for a better life quickly find themselves with worse outcomes than they ever imagined. Then there's infrastructure. Texas grew too fast. Its power grid collapse in 2021 was a warning sign, but since then, strain has only intensified. Rolling blackouts, water shortages, and overcrowded schools paint a picture of a state struggling to keep up with its population boom. Growth without stability is proving unsustainable. Add to that the cost of extreme weather. Hurricanes along the Gulf, record heat waves, and tornadoes drive property insurance costs through the roof. In 2025, many insurers have pulled back coverage entirely, leaving homeowners scrambling for protection at premiums that rival mortgage payments. The final blow is social tension. Texas politics have grown more polarized, making daily life feel like a battlefield over everything from education to basic freedoms. For newcomers who expected open opportunity, the culture wars are suffocating. Texas was once the great alternative. Today, it's a warning. Growth means nothing if the foundation can't hold, and millions are deciding they can't risk staying to watch the cracks widen. 5. Florida. Florida was supposed to be the escape hatch. Sunshine, low taxes, and endless coastline made it the #1 relocation hotspot in recent years. But in 2025, the dream has turned into a trap. The crisis begins with insurance. Hurricanes, flooding, and rising sea levels have pushed homeowners' insurance premiums to historic highs. In some counties, annual premiums now top $10,000, if you can even get coverage. Several major insurers have pulled out entirely, leaving families to either pay crushing rates or gamble on going without protection. For retirees and middle-class families, the financial burden is devastating. Housing is no relief. The flood of new residents drove property prices into the stratosphere. What was once an affordable alternative to New York or California is now nearly as expensive in many metro areas. In 2025, median home prices in South Florida are climbing past $600,000, while rents hit record highs. The very migration that made Florida attractive is now making it unlivable. Then comes the political and social weight. Florida has become ground zero for America's culture wars. Battles over schools, speech, and state laws dominate daily life, leaving residents exhausted. For families who came seeking peace and stability, the constant polarization feels like walking through a minefield. Add in climate extremes, record-breaking heat waves, worsening hurricanes, and flooding that swallows entire neighborhoods, and the pressure is unbearable. Florida once sold itself as paradise, but paradise has a price. and in 2025, that price is proving too high for thousands of Americans who are leaving just as quickly as they arrived. The great irony, Florida's biggest draw, freedom from taxes and regulations, is now overshadowed by the cost of survival itself. For many, the Sunshine State no longer shines. It's a warning of what happens when growth, politics, and nature collide. The warning signs aren't years away. They're here now. Housing markets in these states are already showing cracks. Insurance companies are pulling out, and crime rates are rising faster than officials admit. Every month that passes, costs climb higher and options shrink. Families who wait may find themselves trapped, unable to sell their homes, unable to afford basic protection, and unable to leave without losing everything. The window to act is closing, and those who delay risk being locked into failing systems. The choice is simple: move now or watch the ground collapse beneath you. The window is closing fast. Move now or risk being locked into failing systems. And speaking of escaping rising costs, I booked my last trip to Cancun for half the usual price. And no, I'm not gatekeeping. I used Expedia, and I've got an affiliate link below that gets you the same deals. No extra cost to you, just real savings. The full toolkit's free on my site, northwiseco.com/ebook. I'm really grateful for your time and attention. I spend hours digging into these stories, so if you'd like to fuel the research, it'd be awesome if you could buy me a coffee to keep these videos coming. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these 5 states do you think is collapsing the fastest? Drop a comment below, and don't miss what's next. 5 countries offering instant residency to Americans in 2025. If you want to escape legally and live free, subscribe. I cover the exact countries every week.